Hey there, fight friends. Joining us today is Kelton Sneve, known as the Konqueror. He is a 4-1 professional mixed martial artist from North Bay, Ontario, currently in California training, and he'll be fighting this upcoming weekend in Niagara Falls, New York State for LFA at, I think, number 223. Kelton, how you doing, man?
Good, good. How about yourself, Andy? How are you doing?
Mostly, I'm always good. I don't think I'm lying if I say I'm always good. Every once in a while, you get a couple of rough spots in life, but overall, I'd say like 98% of my life is great.
For sure, for sure.
So talked. It's been a couple of years since we talked last. I think it might have been one of your amateur fights, or maybe it was your debut. I don't really remember. Talk about just the past couple of years, how things have been going for you, how training's been going, any major life changes, and how your training's going.
Yeah, so we talked, I think it was 2 years ago now. It was my second professional fight. It was my LFA debut, actually.
Mm,
And yeah, we made a good call on there. I called the prediction and finished it inside one round, just like I promised everyone I would. Life's been good, man. Life's been really good. You know, I had that one loss, that setback, that split decision
mhm.
loss to Scuba Steve Collins. He's a great, great fighter, nothing but respect to him. And that gave me a lot of chance to reflect on what I want out of this sport. And I learned that I needed to be all in, right? I needed to really be all in. So for my last three camps, I've actually taken time I start camp at home and then I'll come out to Sacramento and finish about like 5 weeks out here at Alpha Male. And
Mhm.
the training's been phenomenal. The coaching's top tier. The training partners are fantastic. It doesn't really get better than that. It makes my job very,
Yeah.
very easy when I just have to show up in a room, get world-class coaching, world-class training partners, and get that rub, get that grind from all these guys. So it's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's interesting to see how there are a couple different American MMA gyms that have sort of embraced Canadians. I know Killcliff MMA in Florida have a lot of Canadians go down, and also Team Alpha Male in Sacramento has a very strong Canadian connection. Canadian Mike Malott, who's a very well-rounded, popular fighter in the UFC, he spent several years in Sacramento as a striking coach. I know that Josh Hill spent time down there. I know Amin Al Malik spent time there. How's your experience been overall training there?
The guys are fantastic. If you're about it, right? If you show up and you show that you're fully committed and this is your life, it's not hard to tell, right? The training room tells no lies. That's kind of one thing I've noticed is you're either about it or you're not. And if you show up
Mhm.
and you show up ready to go and you're giving good competition to the rest of the guys in the room, giving them good rounds. I've noticed myself over the past few months, first day you kind of show up, it's like you're in the lion's den, so you got to really prove your
Yeah.
worth, and I'm okay with that. I actually prefer it that way. I like that. So it relationships have grown, right? Like I've been training with lots of guys out here, like Andrew Coyne, Bulldog, fantastic pro. He's been at it since he was probably like 10 or 11, and he's just a prodigy. I got the Aussie Isaac Thompson, who's been fighting in LFA quite frequently. He's been a good training partner this camp as well. Slava, he just fought on the card last night for New York, and there's just so many good training partners out here
Hmm.
that give you good looks and get good rounds. So it's been great, and they just like I said, if you're about it, and you don't have to be. Don't get me wrong. I'm Canadian and I'm kind, but be showing respect goes a long way. So it's been
Hmm.
great out here. It's been fantastic.
When you had that split decision loss that you just told me forced you to kind of evaluate how things were going, and you made the decision to go to, I don't even know if it was necessarily had to be an American camp, but a bigger camp, somebody with a lot of skilled training partners. How did you go about the process of figuring out where you wanted to go, and how did you pick Alpha Male?
So, my lead horse back home, I'll give him a shout out, right? Devin Loze.
Yeah.
Um, he's like my big brother, man. Me and him talked after that because he fought on that card as well, ended up scoring a sweet knockout with a liver kick. And me and him were just hanging out back at home after. And as high as he was riding from his win, I could tell his empathy, his heart hurt for me. And he kind of just we had a real talk one night and we stayed up. like real late and just kind of started hashing it out with the game plan. He said, "You know what? You've accomplished great things from home." He's like, "But we are fighting with one hand tied behind our back here from home."
Mhm.
He's like, "We don't have the resources that these guys have." And he's been out to Alpha Male for 2 camps prior to that loss of mine. And he just said, he was like, "Dude, you need to come out. You just need to come out and you need to see what's out here." And he's like, "I promise you, you will love it." So we kind of just made the decision that night, like as a team, and we packed our bags and went out to Alpha Male for my first camp. And after the second, third day, I realized, I'm like, wow, you know, this is the room I need to be in, and
Mhm.
these are the partners I need. And don't like the coaching back home. Our coaches are great, like they brought us up, right? I'm not discrediting
Mhm.
anything. Like they created the skilled fighters we are to this day. But when you don't have the training partners, like you are fighting a losing battle, and that's something that
Mhm.
I've noticed. Not only the coaching, the coaching's phenomenal out here. Everything is structured, and the training partners, dude. You can't sharpen an iron off anything else but iron. So
Mhm. It's interesting because this applies to a lot of areas in other people's lives, not just fighting, but certainly does apply to fighting as well. In that, in order to be successful, you need a handful of things. Training partners are one of them. It's true, but it's really important to surround yourself. And once again, this is not just fighting; it's other things. It's important to surround yourself with people who have been through extraordinary things and have done extraordinary things, because that's what can allow you to allow yourself to get to be extraordinary. Like whether you're a data analyst, if you're sitting there with the best data analyst in the world and you see the processes that they do and what they do to make sure they're excellent at it, that's only going to boost you and show you how to become excellent. So being around people who have a lot of experience, of course, Uriah Faber, team alpha male, he's the head alpha male, a lot of huge success in the UFC and elsewhere. Just surrounding yourself with those people has got to really give you a big boost of confidence.
oh yeah, like Uriah specifically for sure. So like I said, first time out, like the first class there, I got to actually roll with him, and it was just a phenomenal experience, right? We myself growing up watching him, right? I was just a punk when he was getting started, and I was barely knee high to a grasshopper. So like the wealth of knowledge that he's like amassed over the years, and essentially just built a super camp from nothing. Like he was a guy that
Mhm.
started with minimal training partners and built this thing from the ground up. So all that experience, the knowledge, and just like being immersed in the game for so long, he could tell if you're up to snuff or not. And after my last fight there, me and him were talking on Instagram like the day of my fight, and I just thought to myself, I was like, what a surreal moment, if I told myself
Mhm.
what, like a year and a half ago that Uriah would be messaging me on the day of my fight, helping me game plan, giving me pointers, like trying to add to my game things that I'm good at. He's looking to expand on and looking to like install new techniques, new avenues, new weapons in the arsenal. It's just I'm very gratitude, like a lot of gratitude for that. So
Yeah.
they've been very accepting and and like I said, like it's like that karma. What you get in, like what you put out is what you get in. So
Mhm.
that's really what I've noticed. If you go all in, there's really nothing like you're holding yourself back by not doing that. So it's
Yeah.
great. It's great to have a team like them all like just willing to help and always helping and going the extra mile. They're a really good camp to be around and a lot of good people there too.
When you just mentioned rolling with Uriah, I'm going to tell you a scenario how that went through my mind when you said it. Uriah, of course, extremely accomplished, really well known for being well rounded, great striker, probably even better known for his ground game. But he's older. I'm guessing, without having done the research, I'm guessing he's probably like 41, 42 years old, maybe even a little bit older. I don't know. And he's no longer fighting professionally. So I'd imagine, even though he's the gym, he's the head coach, he still trains, but I don't know if he pushes himself.
Oh,
So oh, wait. So my first thought, I'm getting somewhere with this. My first thought is, oh, maybe he's, not as tough as he used to be. But then I'm thinking, I bet you he's one of those guys where, a young guy like you comes in full of piss and vinegar, young, youth on your side, lots of energy. You're probably thinking for a half second that, you're going to get a one up on him, and then he just steamrolls you. Was that right or no?
you know what? So that's a pretty accurate assessment, right? Like I was thinking after about I went around 4 rounds, 5 rounds with some other guys, and then he kind of came and gave me the tap, like, hey, like, yeah, we're gonna go together. And I'm like, oh, this is like in my head, I'm like fangirling out, right? I'm like, this is awesome. This is so cool, you know. But like, there's that also line of like, you want to be respectful, right? You don't want to.
Yeah.
You're right. You
Yeah.
don't want to come here and like, but as soon as I shot a double leg, he immediately grabbed his patented guillotine, right? And he was just squeezing that neck real tight. And I was like, you know what? This is funny because he's going 100%. There's no way, like there's no other gear with Uriah, and I don't think that'll ever leave him, right? Like he's
Yeah.
got that competitive edge to him, and he's always on the mats. He's so passionate, like to this day. He's out here coaching every day. So no, it was fantastic. But yeah, like I obviously had to get out of that guillotine. I couldn't tap on my first roll with them. That's just like a non-negotiable, right? So we had a great roll, and he's got some really really good tricks, especially with his grappling. Like some of the
Yeah.
series, they're fantastic. So it's cool to learn and look to expand my game and being shared that knowledge, right? But it was phenomenal, right? You couldn't ask
Mhm.
for a better first day, in my opinion.
This is kind of this conversation's not going the way I expected it to or planned it, but that's okay. This is exciting. Did you ever get a chance? If you haven't yet, try to find. There's a video somewhere. I haven't seen it in a lot of years where Uriah Faber is talking about a time. Pretty sure he was in Thailand, and he got into a street fight with like 20 guys, and he was like running through the streets, and they were chasing him, and he ended up in this. I don't remember what kind of store, like a well lit store where he kind of had a little bit of safety, but it's a crazy story. So if you haven't seen it, you should go try to find it and watch it.
I'll definitely pick his brain about that one on Monday for sure.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's move on. Let's talk about this weekend. It's currently Sunday. We're speaking. I'm not in Sacramento, and you're in Sacramento. When are you going up to Niagara Falls?
I'm gonna head out on Tuesday morning. I'm gonna head up to Niagara Falls and then yeah, go get settled, finish the weight cut and ready to take care of business, man. You know, I respect what my opponent brings to the table. I think he's a well-rounded individual, but
Hmm.
at the end of the day, I'm the conqueror and I'm here to take him out in his
Hmm.
backyard because there's really nothing more that I love than doing that. You know, it's great fighting in front of fans, but I like rolling into someone's backyard and
Hmm.
silencing that crowd. There's no greater feeling, in my opinion.
Your opponent's name is Kevin Carrier. He's got a similar record to you. You're both 4-1. What is it about him that makes you think you can beat him in a fight, other than just overall general you're accepting of your excellent skills?
Um, honestly, I look at the way we responded to our losses. You know, that's something that I looked at and maybe he'll find it on Friday night. Maybe he'll find that ability to pull the trigger again. But I watched a few of his last fights, and to me, I see someone who's tentative out there. I see someone who's gun shy, and you could say, okay, the opponent he fought, but his last fight he lost all three of those rounds. And I know that's an uncomfortable truth for him. He might not like that, but sometimes you got to face yourself with the truth. And the difference in the way I responded, I came out and finished a guy in 63 seconds. Right?
Hmm.
I came out there and was looking to get back what's mine, and I'm in that mode. And I feel that he's if he's gun shy against me, it'll be a short night at the office for him.
Hmm.
So that's honestly what I'm looking at without giving away too much that he wants to come out there and be tentative. and let me lead the dance, he's in for a long night, and he'll be in for a lot of trouble. And I think I'm just more well-rounded than he is. Ultimately,
Mhm.
wherever this fight goes, I have I have the cardio to push 15 hard minutes. I've learned that in that split decision loss, right? Like, it was a back and forth fight. I got that dog in me. I don't need
Mhm.
to. It's not something I'll lean on all the time, but I know if when we're in the trenches and it's time to dig deep, that I got the biggest fucking shovel, and I'm willing to show
Mhm.
everyone that. So that's
Mhm.
that's my prediction on Friday night.
Awesome. That's I love your confidence. Let's go back, take a step back a second, and talk about your one and only loss. You just mentioned it again briefly. It was a split decision loss, and to me, as a non-fighter, I've never fought professionally, of course. I could I'd imagine that if I was a fighter, I could accept getting knocked out. I could also accept submitting. Those things are real, they're tangible. But a decision loss, especially a split decision loss, that means that one judge out of the three thought you won the fight. I'd imagine that's got to be really tough to know that your mind's probably thinking of the what ifs. Like, what if I would have landed three more jabs? What if I would have got that takedown? Maybe that would have swayed the second judge. How do you go about taking a look at a split decision loss in particular, and accurately assessing what you fell short in the eyes of those two judges? What did you need to work on?
So the way I looked at it, like a lot of people might have thought I won the fight. Personally, I don't really care, right? Like I don't really care that people think I won the fight. Um, that's not how I want to win. If I win, it's not by split decision. That's not my goal. So in terms of the whole scope of it, it's a loss, right? And I left it out there, right? I left it to be perceived, to be judged. So that's my fault. Like what my expectation is going out there, it's to like eliminate the competition. It's not to play patty cake with them. It's not to take them to a decision. It's not to edge them out by a hair. I want it to be so apparent that everyone looks at that fight and says, ah, like, oh, that guy had no chance, and I want the guy that I'm fighting to head back to the locker room, and I want him to think there's no way I can beat that guy. I want them to feel that like that feeling of certainty that there's no skill, there's no thing they could have done that night to stop me. So that's kind of where the root of it comes from, right? Like that I'm not happy with like, oh, I won on one judge's scorecard. It's like I should have taken him out. I should have taken him out. That's my job. That's what my job is. And again, that's what like forced my hand, right? In my head, I was like, well, how am I gonna do it? I need to level up. I need to level up. So
Mhm.
the goal to level up is put yourself in a tough room and start gaining skills, sharpening them, and sharpening the mind, sharpening the mind, being prepared for that
Mhm.
competition. Sometimes we get a little too used to winning, and that's something that I'm sure
Yeah.
every fighter struggled with, right? You get a little too used to winning, and I'll tell you, like,
That's what happens in the gym. You do really well and you kick ass in the gym every day. Then all of a sudden you face somebody who's not from your gym and you go, "What the fuck just happened to me?"
oh, exactly, right? So that's we've been putting ourselves in those tough scenarios every day. That's why I say like I've been in the trenches and I know what my heart's made of and I know my mind is strong, my resolve is strong. There's nothing he will show me on Friday night that I haven't already seen. And if he does, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
So I'm truly, and I'm not just saying this, I've really appreciated some of the answers you've given to me, some of my questions tonight. And as with anything, I'm going somewhere with this. I'm recognizing patterns in your speech, patterns in the thing that you're saying that lead me to indicate that you're doing some kind of mindset training as well. I know that a lot of fighters, they work their bodies in the gym, they work their bodies in the weight room, they work their bodies in conditioning, cardio, skill set, but the mind is perhaps the most important muscle in the body for any regards, especially fighting. And to me, it sounds like you're just the way you're talking about the ownership of everything. What kind of mindset training do you do, if any, or am I way off?
Like I think it's just a self-reflection process and a period that you need to be honest. And that's why I even said with Kevin's loss, I'm an objective person. It's like if he can't look, or with his last win, rather, that he lost all three of those rounds. I will give him his kudos that he pulled out a guillotine, he pulled the rabbit out of his ass. But that to me, like you can't lie to yourself, you know? And even in that split decision loss, like I knew going to the scorecards that like there was a good chance that I lost that fight. And like of course I was hoping that I'd won. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you, but when I look at it for what it is, I'm okay with that. I can live with that because I know those are my mistakes. Like, you know, and then I think
Mhm.
that ownership like is important. If you're looking to blame everyone under the sun, like regardless of circumstance, it's like you're a weak-minded individual. And
Mhm.
for me, like this is a mental sport, right? It's all about it, what I have done in the past 8 weeks. Ultimately, what like it'll matter, but on fight night, that's all that matters. Like who shows up,
Mhm.
who's ready to go, who's focused, and that's something I've just like reminded myself daily, right? You know, I'm out here away from like my girlfriend who I live with. I'm away from my family. I'm sacrificing all these things. People might think it's like some vacation. It's not a vacation. I'm out here working my tail off and
Mhm.
I'm out here putting in long hours and my whole life is revolving around this. So I'm all in and I'm not all in physically, I'm all in mentally as well.
Mhm. I'm going to give you a little bit of pushback on something you said about people being weak minded if they're unable to recognize an objective truth about themselves. The reason why I say that is I think in general, many people have a really difficult time self analyzing their lives, their motivations, why they do things, why things are happening to them. It's really difficult. I mean, it might be obvious and apparent to you, and kudos to you if you can, but I think for the majority of people, I think some people can go through their entire lifetime without asking why to anything. They can just do that. So I'm wondering, is that something you stick to by yourself, or do you have a team? And also it's I don't know about you, but for me, I catch myself looking at people in the situations, and I think to myself, well, why didn't they just do this? Why didn't they just do that? Who is your team other than Devin Loze that you can rely on that are trustworthy to sort of help you and guide you in what you need to work on?
Well, you know, like we got like our coaches, right? Like, so, you know, my longtime coach who I started with, like William Kushner, Bill Kushner, he's like my striking coach. I've been with him for a long time, and they obviously know me. My other coach back home, Matt Riche, he's a great guy to talk to and like kind of air your feelings out with and like you said, just kind of assess. And I think it's just the honesty. Like a lot of people can't be honest with themselves because they've cheated themselves. And you know, when you acknowledge that you cheat yourself, those are little losses that start to compile like unconsciously. And then I got like my best friend like Ross Guitard. He's like been a long time training partner. Me and him have known each other since we were about 4 years old. So we've been on this journey together, and like he's always believed in me. And and I think like just going back to what you said, it's like maybe it's not weak minded, but maybe you just have like lack of self like awareness. And I
Yep.
think like having this lack of self awareness in this game specifically will cost you dearly. And
Hmm.
if you can't be objective and realize that you're deficient in some areas, then I think you're just a narcissist, in my opinion. Like you're narcissistic if you think you're just the perfect best, better than everyone.
Hmm.
It's like you're delusional and you're narcissistic. So it's like you need to assess your training, how you like your mental feeling, like your focus, and if you can't do that stuff, then I don't think that this fight game is for you. And
Yeah.
that's my personal opinion. Maybe some guys will come out and prove me wrong, you know. But that's my truth, and I stick to that.
Let's talk about now the organization that you fight under mostly these days. It's LFA, Legacy Fighting Alliance. They're highly regarded as probably the top air quote feeder organization for the UFC. I can't. I remember I saw a stat, some crazy stat, like hundreds of their fighters have gone to the UFC now. Some of their fighters are UFC champions or have been UFC champions. What does it feel like fighting under an umbrella of an organization that has that much cachet and that much influence over the world's top MMA organization?
That like that's just it, right? You know it has the top influence, and you know that it's the spot where everyone wants to leapfrog. So to me, I don't like to look too far down the road. I think one of my favorite I always live through metaphors. And one thing I always say is like, you know, if you're so focused on the road ahead of you, you're gonna trip on the rock in front of you that you didn't even see. So
Mm,
my thing is always like one step. My next step is my best step. And that's my been like a moniker I've kind of started to live by. My next step is my best step. And my next step is on Friday, November 21st. And if I don't perform there, then there's no other stuff. There's to me there's nothing beyond that day. That day is
mm,
X'd on the calendar, and and I know that like LFA is a great organization where I will find the top competition. So if I don't go out there and perform, this guy might take my spot. So that's my spot. I'm gonna take what's mine, and yeah, I'm gonna keep moving up the ladder. And that's just the way I see it. It's just keep climbing the ladder, do the work, be undeniable. Don't be that guy crying for, oh, I'm ready for the UFC. It's like, you know what? Be undeniable. Let your performances speak for themselves. Let your work do the talking, because the loudest dog in the room usually ain't the toughest, and that's just the truth.
mm-hmm. It is the truth. All right, Kelton, man, this has been an absolutely fantastic conversation. I'd like to thank you very much sincerely for taking the time out of your rest day on a Sunday. I'm guessing before you start cutting weight, so you're not grumpy, which I also appreciate. Best of luck this weekend, and opening the floor to you. Any final words? Anyone you'd like to thank? Anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Andy, for having me back here again. Just want to extend a huge thank you to my sponsors, Smoke Signal and Bands on Feet, Macero Construction, and then my buddy Nathan Atwill as well. These guys, they provide me the funds and the means to be able to chase this dream, and they believe in me. So you know what? On Friday, November 21st, I'll look to prove them right once again and prove them correct. So I just want to extend a huge thank you to all those guys.
Great. There you go, fight friends. Kelton the Konqueror with a K, Sneve, fighting this weekend, LFA 223 in Niagara Falls, New York.